Well, apparently we don't have to wait too long, though I don't think LSS directly spoiled it, right? From my knowledge. But we have Chi. Now, first things first. The artwork, absolutely stunning, absolutely gorgeous. Again, it puts to shame the playmat in the bundle box, right? It's wonderful, but it pales in comparison to the modern Mistveil art, Misteria art, right? Because that obviously was early days. It's been on the LSS page for ages, and to me, it's just a little lifeless compared to all this fantastic, gorgeous artwork that is shaping up for the set. Now, lots of things to go over today. We have Transcend, finally, as another sort of blanket keyword similar to stealth. So it's a mixed bag for me, right? Was I hoping for something a bit bigger? Potentially, but don't get me wrong. The mechanics are still very interesting. Chi, I'm going to have to chop this up to be a little confusing, right? From my understanding, from what we have right now, this is the 3. Yeah? So you transcend. This card gets flipped over, right? So it says transcended from sacred arts, undercurrent desires, which is news, little transcendent legendary. So you get your Chi token, flip side, and then you can spend that on your ability. So we've got the symbols for 3, right? Again, a lot of us thinking it's like pitchable resource, something you have to get to 3, but it appears to just be transcend, then you can play it. Transcend, then you can play it, right? Which is, it's a whole nother can of worms, because these can't be it. But what else do they sort of print in terms of Transcend? Now, these are 3 pretty fantastic cards if you get their effects off. But, right, just to get it out of the way. To me, and I can't be the only one, right? We'll use stealth first. So when stealth was first announced, what were you thinking? My thought was basically, oh, cool, this is going to be an interesting mechanic. Something like if this attack is the first attack on the chain, then it can't be defended. Something interesting like that. But then it was just, again, stealth, moldable, depending on what they put on X character, what they put on X card, which is all fantastic. But it doesn't really lend itself to the power of the word, right? So in a lot of games, when a character transcends, if you play a monk, if you play one of the spiritual classes, and then you get to your state of divinity, your transcendent opening, you let loose a huge barrage, right? And it's this big pinnacle moment. Now, I'm not saying it can't be, but from how it's shaping up, it kind of looks like you're going to weave in and out of transcending, right? Your whole desire, again, given their powers, is to have these multiple cards that allow you to transcend, allow you to push that little bit extra for a turn, even if it's saving the chi, right? Which is also an interesting thing, because usually it's a fleeting state, but if you transcend, you then have the chi for your ability. You don't have to have transcended for these abilities, but then the transcend bonus comes into play off of other cards. It's definitely a cool design, right? It's just obviously not where a lot of our heads went straight away. And when I think of transcended, this isn't quite it. It isn't quite just a blank card, another just, again, chaining things together, but they're in their own little bubble now because it's this bubble. It's definitely a better version of Fuse, right? We'll go with that, because Fuse is very easy to obviously do over and over again. This has some barriers in place to it. But I digress, right? What do you think? Are you satisfied? Are you left wanting a little bit more? I mean, there's still a ton of cards to come, right? There could still be other payoffs for Chi than the hero ability. We'll have to see. But yeah, so you generate 1 token, and that's your 3. Which also, the 12 tokens of the set, right? So last time we mentioned adult heroes and the numbers that work out for that. Well, we know now that Chi is most likely a token, right? Transcend is a keyword, so we don't need a token to represent it, but Chi is definitely going to be a token slot, which means the other 3 are probably going to be this, right? Fang Strike and Sliver, with one other, maybe Quicken, maybe something for Enigma, since we have Crouching Tigers. I mean, I know we generate Spectral Shield, but maybe something unique for her. But yeah, let's crack into these cards. Okay, so we have 3 Sacred Arts, and they are all legendary. They are each hero specific, and they have, if you played another blue this turn, you may choose 3 instead of choose 1. So they all have the blue play effects, right? And then their 3 effects in unison seem pretty busted. 1 effect is okay. I don't think it's probably worth the cost until we see what the cards are. It does vary, but again, given how Transcend appears to work in Chi generation, you wanna use these to Transcend, right? You want to get your hero ability off more so than the other 2 things. If you can get all 3, then that's just huge. So for new, we have create a Fang Strike and Slither in your hand. Then we have banish up to 2 cards in your opposing hero's graveyard, and of course Transcend, and I'm going to assume that they all come together. Although Fang Strike and Slither are probably just an attack and a block or a defense reaction, right? That's where my mind goes. Similar to Crouching Tiger, but probably a set amount, all right? I doubt they're pitchable. I doubt there's any other use than just playing them, and it's maybe just to fuel a chain or something like that, right? But the banish 2 is definitely the big one, since that allows you to selectively look for blues, which then you Transcend, you generate your Chi, and you can go into Nu's actual ability, right? And you can then play those. I mean, just the simple fact of being able to play 2 more blues in this turn is fantastic. If you float Chi, you can then use Chi on Nu's ability, play a blue, use this, Transcend again, float the blue, float the Chi token, however you want to look at it, right? And just loop it over and over again. That seems pretty broken, right? But again, they are legendary, 1 of, so I assume all the other Transcend cards are going to be a lot weaker. It does worry me, right? Again, we play a lot of combo decks, we play a lot of draw decks, we play a lot of searching for specific elements, and depending on how complex this is, depending on how many cards have Transcend, depending on how many cards just generate Chi, if that even is a thing, right? If it's just always Transcend into Chi, then it's a little bit worrisome whether or not they actually will work functionally as their hero abilities, or if they'll just have a strong baseline, and this is sort of the cherry on top. Okay, so then we have Sacred Art Jade Tiger Domain. Legendary, if you played another blue card this turn, choose 3, otherwise choose 1. So again, it's the exact same effect, well, except for the 3. So we've got create 2 Crouching Tigers. Crouching Tigers get +1 this turn, and Transcend. Now, Zens definitely appears to be one that you don't really care if you get all 3. If you get all 3, fantastic, but I'd be pretty happy with a Crouching Tiger into a Crouching Tiger chain, or even just the 2 tokens if I have some other Crouching Tiger synergy in buffing them. But yeah, so Zen is definitely shaping up as just strictly Crouching Tiger, right? No flexibility with combo, which is fine, right? Crouching Tiger is fun. But yeah, so you play all 3, you then get 2, you get the +1, and then you also get to create a 3rd one, as well as find a combo card. So you've already got 3 chain links, because they'll all have damage, and then you'll be able to have another combo card to play. So again, super strong. It reads like Zen and Nu are both similar, where you want to have use this ability. So that's sort of your guaranteed blue, right? Again, this is increasing your odds. Yes, you can stack your deck with blues and you can do all that, but the most surefire way to me is float Chi. Well, it's not really float. Generate the Chi token, use your ability into these types of cards. So you play a weaker Transcend and then try to follow up with this turn, which then is also committing a lot of cards to a combo. Less so in Zen case, well, less so in either case actually, because you pull from your opponents and here you generate your Crouching Tigers. I take it back. Okay, and then lastly we have Enigma's Sacred Art Immortal Lunar Shrine. If you played another blue this turn, choose 3, otherwise choose 1. I don't know why I'm reading them, I told you. They're all the same. Create 2 Spectral Shields, put a 1 counter on each aura with ward you control, and of course Transcend. Now, again, I don't play that much, but like I don't play Illusionists that much. So the whole ward gimmick and blocking for them, defending, basically warding your things that have ward, as well as then trying to buff them. It hasn't had a lot of success from my knowledge, right? You definitely like auras getting counters, but ward seems pretty easy to disrupt. So I'm curious if you will have like a blanket effect that is any ward effects that trigger this turn don't actually get destroyed, something like that. But again, playing all 3 seems to be the big payoff. Getting just, you know, the Chi token to then be able to create a Spectral Shield with 1 does not seem fantastic. Just generating 2 or just getting counters. Well, actually, the counters on everything is probably worth a 3 depending on your board state. But it does seem like, again, you really want to just save these 2 play all 3, which is fantastic because they are blue, right? So you can pitch them away. You can save them until you have your Chi token on board and you're able to play a blue card and then trigger them. Altogether, it's still a fun, interesting mechanic. Is it new by definition? Yes. Is it new mechanically? I don't think so. I don't think it's that far removed from a lot of the just base concepts of Flesh and Blood, which again is fantastic. But we go back to the whole hype statements about this being a brand new thing, which again, yes, technically it is, but functionally, I don't see it as a huge thing, right? Again, generating a resource to then spend is the core of Flesh and Blood, is it not? So I was hoping for, a state. I think Demi Heroes was another idea was floating, and we might still get all this, right? But it does come back to Marvels, right? So the Marvel counts, which I should pull up. Okay, so we have 18 Marvels in total, right? We know 6 of them are the heroes, so that leaves 12. We now know that 3 of them are the Sacred Arts, so that leaves 9. I would assume that we're going to see more than one Sacred Art, right? I wouldn't be surprised if, again, they're sort of misdirecting us with the play blue, right? And we get a Sacred Art for each color. I think that could work really well, right? So again, that would be another 6, leaving 3 more, and it'd probably be Crouching Tiger, probably maybe be the new generation Slither and Strike, or I don't know, we could get a Spectral Shield Marvel. I'm sure they could do something fancy with it, right, to make it worthwhile. And then, of course, a Crouching Tiger. I can't remember if I mentioned that already. But yeah, so these are definitely beautiful cards, right? We're sticking with the full art Marvels. Fantastic. They're gorgeous. Look at that. Without even, centering on the naked lady, half naked lady, right? And then, of course, Chi. So they are using this beautiful art. I know, I love blues, right? Curiously, you're right, it says transcended from X. So I'm curious if that's going to play a thing. There might still be more to it, right? But I don't think we should hope. Again, I feel like it's another, here's a nice, simple, nuanced mechanic. Have fun with it, right? Which is perfect. It's in our heads where we sort of overhype and go, oh, cool. What other games have Transcendence? What other games have generating chi like this, right? That we can pull from and draw from. But again, what LSS comes up with is pretty good, right? I think so. Okay, then we have the promos. So, given this promo, I would highly assume that the special legendary and the special Marvel are going to be anime alt art waifus, which is fine. They're usually my cup of tea, right? So I collected all of the War of the Spark ones, right? I'll accept Liliana. But Fab to me does not need it. I understand, again, making these hugely desirable for the Japanese crowd, right? And just tapping into that local market. But Fab can definitely stand on its own 2 legs in terms of its art. So I'm hoping this is just a nice one-off thing. Although, they could also go fully over the top with it, and I would love this idea, where wherever we have the World Championships, or I guess the calling, is it a calling? Right, the initial event for Mistveil. Yeah, sorry, Worlds, and I think it's just a calling, right? If they did art cards like this, so the promos are alt art cards from that area, right? So if we go to God, I'm trying to think, right? Somewhere you get that traditional style of artwork, or I should say that local artwork. I think that would be fantastic, right? So it's hard to separate whether or not this is just doing it because, again, this is the thing that almost every company does when it has a product in Japan, or if it is actually, paying homage to the culture. So I'd love to see those types of promos going forward across the board. Now, the other thing to talk about is, I guess, promos for going to these events. Now, it's always fantastic, right? Generating something out of nothing. Because again, LSS are printing these, we're putting the stock value into them and turning them into a fantastic reward for the people who do, commit, who do go to these places, who have those opportunities. Now, obviously, FOMO is a real thing. You can easily feel left out getting such a treasured card, a valuable card, right? For just showing up. I haven't looked into the actual promos, but I assume there's obviously the ones for showing up and the ones for playing. But altogether, I think it's all fine, right? What sort of bogs it down for a lot of people is there's nothing that's really trying to reclaim value in boxes. So again, we have cold foils, heavily diminished once the pinnacle chase element of Fab now brushed aside from Marvels, and then even in the case of Marvels, again, they're sinking. Eventually, if we keep with this art style, maybe, but again, the game is just highly playable. So I think that's what people sort of get upset about, right? It's not that you don't have the ability to get something, right? It's not just pettiness. It's, this is great, but we feel there should still be an element in the boxes, like the serialized art cards from Dusk Till Dawn or something like that again rewards the people, or I should say is something for the people who can't necessarily go all over the world, right, to these events. So yeah, it's just a thing to take with a grain of salt. And then we actually have one expansion slot card spoiled, right? So Strength rules all. Now it is not the greatest, but we'll read it, right? So it looks like a 2, looks like a 6. When this hits a hero, turn a card in their arsenal face up, then banish an attack action card in their arsenal with less attack than the damage dealt this way. So a bit of arsenal disruption for brutes, right? Interesting. Because usually the expansion slot is you need a little bit extra oomph for your class, but obviously KO and Reiner are doing fairly well. So do they need Arsenal Destruction along with Intimidate? Probably not, but still a cool card nonetheless. Definitely will see play, right? It has its uses. It's already a 6, it's 2 for 6, and has a fairly decent effect, especially if you can obviously buff it and then you just disable your opponent's attack in certain matchups like Ranger. Definitely do wonders. But yeah, that's about it for the spoilers. So yeah, what do you think of Chi and Transcend, right? I'm still going to assume that there's going to be other ways to generate Chi, and there's definitely going to be other ways to Transcend, but I could also see it completely being Transcend, Chi, ability, right? And that's the whole mechanic, and there's no trying to build it up. It's not like you have to Transcend 3 times to use your abilities, because that would be way too slow. So a little bit of confusion, again, in the 3 for 3, right? Maybe it should have just been a 1 counter. Maybe they could have stacked it, but it would have messed up with the line balancing. It would have been too small also. But, I mean, they could have also just done destroy a Chi token, something like that. Yeah. Definitely a misdirect. We got wombo comboed, like usual, from LSS. So I do think we're not going to see blues, right? Maybe. They're feeding us all the must-play blue cards. Yeah, I'm definitely thinking, especially in a full set with only 3 heroes, that it's going to have multiple different ones, right? And you can sort of tool your deck, your hero to whatever mechanic it is, especially now that we know Chi isn't directly tied to blue, right? Specifically, I mean, in this sense it is. More waiting, but we have a general gist of what the mechanic is. Anyway, hope you enjoy. Let me know your thoughts. See ya.